Hello and welcome to Smash Hit Sports. I'm your host, Cody. We are exactly halfway through the NFL season. It's been nothing short of chaotic. I've loved every minute of it, and I am so incredibly happy to have Troy on. Troy King is going to help us recap last week, give midseason awards, predict the future, which I cannot wait. Troy at T King Mode, which you can see on the screen or in the description if you're listening to the audio version of the show. He makes fantasy content for football guys, Destination Devi, the fantasy playbook. Troy, welcome on, man. It's great to have you.
Man, I appreciate you inviting me on, Cody. You know, you're one of my dogs. I'm glad we finally get to do a collab together. It's very overdue. And I'm ready to get into some football, man.
Yeah, dude, it's been too long. Troy and I have been in cahoots since the fantasy expo in Canton like 2 years ago. So it's great to have you on, man. Dolphins fan too, and you're having a absolute hell of a season, which is great.
Yes, I am.
We'll talk about the Dolphins. But let's start with the Week 9 recap. Let's talk about the Thursday night game a little bit. Eagles 29, Texans 17. The Eagles are damn good. Obviously, we got news about Josh Allen, and we'll talk about it. Are the Eagles, in your eyes, the best team in the NFL right now?
It's hard to say an undefeated team isn't the best team. I honestly think the Buffalo Bills are still a better overall team. I'll give the Eagles, I'd say they're second. I mean, but I say in terms of total team, I think the Bills are still the best team, even though they have 2 losses compared to the Eagles. With Josh Allen and the weapons and their defense, I think it's just slightly better than the Eagles, but it's really close for me.
Yeah, and I want to see kind of how that Bills defense progresses once they get 100% healthy, because Trey White is a massive, massive difference maker, and obviously he missed a lot of football last year and the beginning of this year. So I want to see, how he looks when he is 100%, because I don't know if he is quite yet. That Eagles team, though, Coach Nick Sirianni has done an absolute hell of a job. I don't think you see in college football all the time that, like, they have head coaches that, like, match the aura of, like, their city or state or whatever that they represent. I don't think there's more of a Philly dude than Nick Sirianni. He just is so Philly.
He is so Philly. And look, and again, he like you said, I feel like he matches the energy that his team loves him. He's great. Like, he's aggressive. He's crazy. Again, it fits the fan base, fits the team. Look, they're going to go far. I definitely, Super Bowl is in the very realm of possibilities for them.
Which I am a fan of Jalen Hurts. Just as a person, he is impossible not to root for. He just seems like the nicest, most humble dude. We're going to do some midseason awards. I'm going to talk about Jalen Hurts for sure.
Okay.
But man, he's just such an easy guy to root for. It's kind of A.J. Brown just kind of talking shit about the Titans a little bit when they were watching that Sunday night game. That's crazy.
Oh, no. Yeah, A.J. Brown, look, I feel like he got a good deal being shipped over to Eagles for sure.
Yeah, well, the Titans have one receiving touchdown by a wide receiver this year, and it's Robert Woods.
Terrible.
Yeah, tough to watch. But let's move on to the Bills. We talked briefly about them there, but Jets 20, Bills 17. How big of an issue is Josh Allen's arm? Because I know it came out today that there's a partial UCL tear, and he's day-to-day. How are you evaluating him this week and then that Bills offense going forward?
So I think, obviously I'm not a medical expert, but for me, I think it's something where, because he had a similar injury his rookie year and he missed 4 games. So I guess the degree of this isn't as severe as what happened his rookie year. I think one thing we should think about, because I saw some of the reports that, he might be able to play through it. I think that if the division and the AFC wasn't, I feel like the division wasn't the way it was. Like, everyone, the Jets are on top of the division. I think that the Bills are still on top of the division. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because they're 6-2. And the Jets are 6-3. Yeah. So, technically, yeah.
Yeah. So the Bills are still on top, but the fact that Dolphins have 6 wins, Jets have 6 wins, and they just lost to both teams. It's, every single game from here on out matters. Like, you can't afford a loss. But at the same time, it's like, okay, the division is so tight, but also you want to save your best player for the playoffs. So because even if, let's say, they don't win the division, they don't get home field advantage, they should at least be a wild card, right, with the remaining of their schedule. But obviously, that home field in Buffalo is an absolute game changer. So it's a tough decision, right? Do you save your quarterback? Do you have him play through it, or could he possibly make it worse with his injury? And Case Keenum is a competent backup, and also they play the Vikings, who are 7-1. They're 7-1, so that's another factor. It's not like an easy team where it's like, oh, maybe Case Keenum. It's like there's so many things involved, because what will happen is if the Bills lose and the Dolphins win, because the Jets are on the bye, the Dolphins are on top of the division. So so they're on top of the division. So there's so many factors that are playing a part. And I know the Bills must be going crazy, like, what do we do? And maybe he toughs it out, but again, if he injures it more, then they're going to be like, oh my God, you're so stupid. I think, in my opinion, I think they should try to rest it for this week, and maybe, who knows, maybe it's better from here on out, and maybe he gets injected with some, I don't know. But he's going to be limited. It's not looking good. Maybe he toughs it out, but I would not want to be a Bills fan right now. I'd be stressed out.
I agree. Looking at their schedule, the next 3 weeks, they have the Vikings at home this weekend, which is obviously a big game. 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins, so the Vikings should play well. But then you get the Browns at home and at the Lions on Thanksgiving. So and obviously I am not, Sean McDermott, but if I was, I think I sit Josh for the next 3 games, because after that you have at the Patriots, the Jets at home, and the Dolphins at home. 3 divisional
Huge
games,
game.
3 straight weeks to start December. I want my quarterback 100% for those games, because that ultimately could determine how your season goes. And like, if Josh out for, God forbid he gets hurt worse or aggravates it worse or whatever by trying to play him, the Bills are not, that team goes with Josh Allen. Like, this isn't a team that can like make a run with Case Keenum, I don't think. So we'll see. I hope he plays, because damn it, he's electric. And I want to see him play on Thanksgiving, because I need a reason not to talk to my relatives, and Josh Allen playing football is a damn good reason. Let's talk about the Vikings. They won by 3 against the Commanders. I'm seeing a lot of people on the internet saying, yeah, but their schedule's kind of fraudulent, and they did get their ass whooped when they played the Eagles, and this, that, and the other. Are the Vikings legit?
They're legit, man. And I know, like, in Kirk's, I feel like he didn't play that great last week, but I feel like overall, he's having a decent season. Fantasy-wise, he's about QB 10, I think, in points per game. Yeah. So overall, he's doing well. And look, JJ, I feel like Adam Thielen he's been okay. He's been serviceable, but he hasn't been Adam Thielen of old. Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook is having a really good season. And look, I feel like, say what you want fraudulent, they're winning the games that are on their schedule. So it's hard to take away. They're doing what they're supposed to do, right? They're winning. They're 7-1. And their division is cake. Super cake division. Yep. They're walking into the playoffs. And for them right now, it's just about, hey, securing home field advantage. Like, that's really all they have to worry about, right? The division's locked down for them. So all you got to do is secure home field advantage. And yeah, I think they're legit. I think the defense is pretty good, but I feel like overall it's the offense, right? Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. That's what, in Kirk Cousins, that's what's going to make those wins happen in the playoffs.
Yeah, and when you have studs like that, you can win. Like, it feels like the Vikings are never out of a football game, right? And say what you will, I love Kirk Thuggins. The chains and the watches and the interview, the whole 9 yards. I actually really do think that there's something to a team having a great locker room environment. Oh, yeah. I think the Vikings have that right now, because you get, like, they look excited to play every week. And I don't think you could say that under Mike Zimmer, because Mike Zimmer is the epitome of, like, white bread with toast, like toasted and buttered. That's just what he's just stale, man. And I think this Vikings team is actually having fun playing football, and I don't think they've had that in a couple years.
And you know what? And I feel like a lot of the best teams have that. I don't know if you know, but it's like that kind of coach, right? It's like the Vikings. They have Kevin O'Connell. Like I've seen some like locker room shots of he's with the team. He's fun. He's energetic. You guys got like Mike McDaniel's with the Dolphins. He's fun. He's energetic. He's tuned in. Even like guys like Brian Dable. He's a players coach with the Giants. He's tuned in. Like it's like that personality, right? Like the players want to play for him. He's connected with them. And I feel like that's the new wave of coaches, right? There's going to be less of the Mike Zimmermans and Bill Belichick. Like he's the GOAT. But I feel like we're going to see less of that and more of like this, like the best teams. And with the Eagles too, like the same exact situation we just alluded to, where it's like, again, like it's all tied in. Like, look, the coach and the players, they're on the same page. They buy into the message, and they're the most successful teams in the league.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction. Like they all are incredibly invested in trying to be the best football team every Sunday, and it's cool to watch. It's cool to watch, and it's cool to see those moments. And like we forget sometimes because I go to work every day, and like work is better, and I'm better at my job when I enjoy who I'm working with and like the environment that I'm working in. And these guys are just the same as us. They're just incredibly more athletic. I got to talk about my Bengals, obviously. I think it was like the second highest fantasy scoring day ever by Joe Mixon. Just an absolute insane day by Mixon in that offensive line, the whole 9 yards. I do have long-term concerns about the Bengals. Their schedule is brutal. Jamar Chase is going to be out for it, I think, a couple more weeks. Obviously, they have their bye this weekend. Troy, please tell me that I should not be worried. Everything's going to be fine. The Bengals are going to win this division.
I mean,
or should I be concerned?
I feel like the Bengals look a lot better than they did to start off the season. Win the division. The Ravens look like they got it. I feel like the Ravens' schedule is cake. The Ravens' schedule is cake. So it's like and they started off shaky. So, but the thing about the Ravens though is that they're winning on the back of Lamar. A lot of their weapons are hurt, but it doesn't matter. They're finding ways to win, and their schedule is a lot softer than yours. I think it's asking a lot for the Bengals to win the division, but also, again, it's more so like they're gonna win games, but I feel like it's gonna be a wild card race, right? And there's only so many teams that are making the wild card, and then the AFC is brutal. Like, too bad, and it almost sucks that like the NFC's overall is cake compared to the AFC. It's such a murderous row. Like, again, it's like you're gonna be competing with teams like the Dolphins, or who knows? We'll see. The Dolphins or the Bills. We'll see what happens with Josh Allen. But you got legitimate contenders who are going to be taking these wild card spots. So I think, could they win a division? Yeah, it's possible. But I feel like destiny and the way the schedule's set up, it's screaming Ravens are going to win this division.
I agree. I hate that you're right, but I agree. It's crazy that we all talked about the AFC West being the best division in football. They had Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes and John, and they've been very, very average. I mean, the Chargers are 5-4, but nothing about that 5-4 is impressive. No. But the AFC East, like every team over 500, it's been nuts. Like every team in that division is fighting for a wild card spot. Plus you have the Chargers. Plus you have the Bengals. The AFC South, I think, is awful. But the other three divisions in the AFC, like, they're damn good. Speaking of teams that stink, Rams 13, Buccaneers 16. What happened, dude?
I just feel like this is just the story of how the Rams have been all year. I feel like their defense like, obviously they have great players, like obviously Aaron Donald, but their defense hasn't been as dominant as we'd like them to be. Their offense is absolutely atrocious. Like, it's the offensive line, and people have been they can't run the ball. They can't run the ball, and people are like, oh, is the run game going to get any better? But the problem is, we're in week 10. It's not getting any better. Like, we know what teams are now. So it's like, we know what teams are now. Like, nothing is changing. They're not going to be able to run the ball for the rest of the year. And it's just, if they somehow able to sneak into the playoffs, then they're going to get blown out the first round. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and that's the reason. It's just the Rams is just, and I actually was on a different show yesterday, and I was saying how, like, it's kind of like in Dynasty when you think you're a contender and you trade away all your picks and you assemble this squad and you realize really quickly that you are who you thought you were going to be. And the Rams are the definition of that. Like, they're not what they thought they were going to be. Stafford, I know he got hurt, earlier thing in the offseason and he had the elbow injury. I don't know if that's explaining a lot. Cooper Kupp can't do everything. Right? It's like Cooper Kupp's been great, but he can't do everything. They can't trust anyone outside of Cooper Kupp. Tyler Higbee was actually balling earlier, but like now they're using him to block even more because the offensive line's so bad, so they need more help blocking. So Tyler Higbee's been blocking and hasn't done anything the past couple of weeks, so he's fizzled out from. And just the running back again. The running backs are terrible. It's just they're not that good of a team. Like Sean McVay, I think he's the offensive guru. I just think that in the Bucks, look, Tom Brady's the GOAT, right? That last drive showed. Yeah, it showed, summed up his whole career, right? The 2-minute drill, he's the king. In less than 2 minutes, it was like 30 seconds. Yeah,
he's so damn good. I genuinely believe that the Rams will not make the playoffs. The offensive line is so porous, but you kind of thought like they made some moves this offseason and it didn't work because you had they brought in Allen Robinson. And that move didn't work. He's been very pedestrian, and it looks like that last year at the Bears was more about Allen Robinson than it was about the Bears. And then I hated this signing when they brought him in, but they paid so much money to Bobby Wagner. A middle linebacker is not the difference between a championship team or not. Like I was stunned that they didn't try to go out and replace Andrew Whitworth because my thought was, I know they lost OBJ, and I know they traded away Robert Woods, but losing Andrew Whitworth was their biggest loss of the offseason, in my opinion.
He covered up a lot of flaws with the team.
It's crazy. Talking about the Buccaneers offense a little bit. I think, obviously, the Rams defense is good, but it hasn't been elite this year. Are we concerned about some of the issues we've seen with Mike Evans and Scotty Miller and that? Like, they have not looked their best. And I know Tom hasn't been perfect, but I still think he's been good enough.
I feel like, it's back to the offensive line. They've had a lot of offensive line issues, and the run game has been very inefficient. Like, playoff Lenny, he hasn't been showing up, right? And then, that's why we've seen a little bit more of a Rashad White in the mix. So I think that is a lot to do with it. It's just the run game hasn't been as consistent, so I feel like the entire offense isn't what we've seen in the past because like last year, we saw more of a balance between run game and pass game. But if the run game doesn't work, because, again, Tom is able to benefit off of play actions and things like that. It's not just him dropping back all the time. The run game helps set up the pass game for Tom. And they haven't had that. Again, the offensive line has been suspect and beat up. And so I think that's one of the reasons. Yeah, and Tom, obviously, if we want to talk about the divorce, I don't care who you are. That probably impacts you mentally, right? I'm not going to blame the entire thing on it, but that might have impacted a little portion of what was happening with the struggles. But I think they needed this win. I think they needed this win. I think they needed confidence. I think they're in Germany, right? I think they're in Germany versus Seattle.
The Seahawks.
And I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like overseas games, they never go how you expect them to go. And the Seahawks are actually a good team now. Yeah. So it's not a guaranteed win. So we'll see how that plays out. But I feel like they really needed the win against the Rams for a confidence booster. Who knows? Maybe this turns things around. And the division is so awful that they're on top of the division. They're on top of the division. I don't see – look, their biggest competition was the Falcons, like in that division. So it's like I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if the Falcons end up going with a quarterback change at some point this season.
But I would think that. But the thing is, they're right there. Their tied. It's just they lost to the Bucks. So like
it's crazy because they're either winning the division or they're not going to the playoffs at all. Yeah, like there's no in between.
Yeah,
so it's crazy. Yeah, it turns out, like, obviously we're fantasy guys, and a lot of the people we talk about in our content are your wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks, but losing offensive line is a big deal because the Bucks left guard retired, their right guard signed with the Cincinnati Bengals, and then their center, Ryan Jensen, blew out his knee before the season started. So missing 3 out of your 5 offensive linemen is a big, big deal, and it's really impacted Brady in that offense this year. Speaking of an offense, Chiefs 20, Titans 17. Let's start with the Titans. Is there any chance that they win a postseason game?
No. Well, let me rephrase that.
Because it'll be at home.
Well, with Derrick Henry, all things are possible. So it's just like
Derrick Henry has turned into a church figure at this point. It's like, hey, through Henry, all things.
But he's the type of guy, especially in fantasy. People have been trying to write this guy off like he has to decline, and he hasn't. He's just a massive human being who everyone knows the ball's going to him, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he can't stop it, because he's not just big. He's big and he's fast, and then just like, and it's hard to tackle him, right? And it's just, I feel like, and with Malik Willis though, you got to have Ryan Tannehill back. I think it's proven that Malik Willis needs more time. Like, they're absolutely not winning with Malik Willis right now. I think that I'm not running the ship off. He's a rookie. I get it, but you need Ryan Tannehill back there. And also the problem is that their wide receivers are lackluster at best. So I think for them to win, they need to do what pretty much they always do, right? They need to get the ball. They're going to control the time of possession, and they should try to play with the lead. Because I feel like that's what you need to do, right? Control the time of possession, get up, because I feel like it's definitely harder for them to come back in games the way their team is set up. When you're
100%,
when your team is revolved around Derrick Henry, it's best for you to be winning. And then the defense, it's like, we've seen the defense show up a lot. I feel like they have a solid defense. I feel like for the most part, they played really well. The defense kept them in that Chiefs game.
Yeah, they got a solid front seven. Like it
should have been blown out. They should have been blown out the way Malik Willis was playing, and I don't think the wide receivers had any receptions.
He had 5 completed passes. Yeah, he had 5 completed passes, none to a wide receiver.
Exactly. So that formula means they should have been blown out, but the defense kept them in the game. So I feel like defense wins championships. They're not sniffing the championship, but I think you have a solid defense. You have that run game. If they can just keep going with that formula, I don't think they could make it to the play. They'll be in the playoffs, right? They'll be, but how far will they go?
Division, but
the division. That's the problem. The division is the Colts, the Jags, the Texans, disgusting. So they have a cakewalk to the division. It's just
crazy. Derrick Henry stat. He is the only Titans player to score a touchdown since week 5, and they are 5-3. That
shows you how good he is. That just shows you how otherworldly he is.
Built different. Talk about the Chiefs, and then we'll move on to your squad. So we talked about the Bills, and you think they might be the best team in football. Do you put the Chiefs as the second best team in the AFC, or are there more concern? Because I still kind of have concerns with that offense.
So the AFC, it's hard not. Look, I think the Dolphins might be, because I think the Dolphins.
I don't hate that take.
I think the Dolphins might be the second best in the AFC, because I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because you have the Chiefs are really good, but I feel like Patrick Mahomes, you can make the argument they're second. I think third might be better. It's just Mahomes just makes it happen with no matter who, right? No matter who. I feel like their defense is not great. The defense isn't great. Obviously, they don't have the weapons, but it doesn't matter when you have Patrick Mahomes. So I think they're at least second or third. I say the Dolphins are right there. I think at worst the Dolphins are third place. If you want to put the Ravens there, you can make an argument with the Ravens being up there too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else in the AFC would be considered one of the best teams. I don't know.
Yeah, and I trust Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the day, when you have a coach who's been there and done that like Andy Reid has, I think he's going to have this team right. Obviously, 20 points isn't what you want, but they got the win. It was in overtime. It was ugly, but good teams win. So I'm not worried about the Chiefs. I think they will be just fine. We got to talk about your squad, because good Lord, are they fun to watch. Yeah. Dolphins 35, Bears 32, maybe a little closer than you wanted, but What are your thoughts after the first half of the season on the Dolphins?
So I have so many thoughts. So I feel that the offense with Tua, the offense can score at will. It's proven that the offense can absolutely score anytime they want to score, and it's been proven all season, right? And then I feel you have Tyreek Hill, you have Waddle, but the offensive system that Mike McDaniel is implemented is just lethal. It's absolutely lethal because it's literally Tua is the perfect quarterback for that system. The way he anticipates throws, he puts it where it needs to be. He knows where his receivers are supposed to be, and you have the receivers who are skilled enough and fast enough to make things happen. You have the yak ability, but Tua's putting the ball on the money. He's extremely accurate. You've been hearing that all year. Just the perfect offense. It's really the perfect offense, again, to score well. We've seen it. And the run game now with Jeff Wilson, I think, is such an underrated addition because him and Raheem Mostert, they know that system like the back of their hand. But Raheem Mostert, he's 31, so we couldn't just have him as our workhorse for the entire season, right? I'm glad that now we have Jeff Wilson, who's, again, knows the system so well. And
it's a great trade for them.
Yeah, and as long as the run game, and saying is, watch it, because the run game, the Dolphins haven't been running that much because of their offense, because of their passing weapons. But if we can run the ball even more, defenses are in trouble. If we can continue to really work on that run game, it's over. It's over for almost any. But the defense, I will say, one thing that you should notice that has been a theme all season is that the Dolphins struggle with running quarterbacks. Justin Fields, Josh Allen, Lamar all put up huge, big numbers. Even though the defense overall did pretty decent against Josh Allen, they were the reason why they won that game. I feel like the defense is something where I think it might be the case. So, you got Chubb. So, hopefully, it was Chubb's first game with the team. So, if the defense can, and I feel like a lot of times what you've seen this season is that in the wins, it's either the offense going off or it's the defense keeping you in games, right? So, for example, the Bills game and the Steelers game were really times where the defense made certain plays to make things happen. Even this last game, they were getting killed all game, and towards the end of the game, defense, they
got to stop when they needed to.
Yeah, exactly. So the defense showed up where they needed to show up. So I feel that if they can just tighten things up, also the defense, we've had a lot of injuries in the secondary. So I think that the Dolphins, again, are going to be one of the best teams. If the defense could just be a little bit more stout, then it's over. I feel that people have been talking Super Bowl. I don't know about Super Bowl yet. I mean, clearly they should be in the conversation about Super Bowl, but am I going to sit here and be like the Dolphins win a Super Bowl? I'm not there yet. If the defense could show up more consistently, yeah. And then, so this week they play the Browns at home. It's a big game. They're 3-5, but the Browns have a run game. They have a good offensive line. Their defense isn't slouches, so it could be a trap game. It's a game that the Dolphins really need to win because after this week, they have a bye next week, and then after the bye, they get the Houston Texans. So that would be 8 wins. So if they beat Houston, that would be 8-3. That would be humongous for the race because, like you said, towards the end of the season, you got the Patriots. We got to go up to New England for the Patriots. The Jets have to come.
Yep.
The Jets have to come to Miami, which is a big deal. But then you have to go to Buffalo. So those are games where those aren't guaranteed games. I don't know if they're going to win those games. So that's why you have to win this week and next week, get up to 8 wins. So that's why if you happen to lose a game here or there towards the end of the season, you have that cushion. So
yeah, you have a brutal 3-game road stretch in December at 49ers, at Chargers, at Bills, back-to-back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
That is going to be tough.
No,
but man, if we could get a Dolphins-Bills Sunday Night Football game in Buffalo, that would be awesome.
It would be awesome. And I think that's one of the biggest things where I feel like the most winnable game, I think the Chargers is probably the most winnable because you could run on them. We'll see. We don't know what's happening with Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, so that's going to be a tough game, but I feel like it's a winnable game for them. The Bills game, it will be very difficult for the Dolphins to go to Buffalo and win in December. Like that's a game where like if they happen to
it's
win,
tough for anybody to go into Buffalo and win. In
if
December.
the Dolphins go up there and win in those conditions, then when I would be talking about Super Bowl. If they're able to do that, then that's Super Bowl aspirations right there, because that's probably the toughest environment outside of Arrowhead in the whole and Saints is hard. But I think that, like you said, it's a tough stretch. I think like before those games happen, you need to make sure you win all those other games. They also play Green Bay towards the end of the season, so that should be a W. But you need to win this game, and you need to win against Houston. Get to 8 wins, and then you can afford a loss or two between the Chargers, 49ers, Bills. But that's really what the Dolphins, and I think they know that. But I think they really have to make sure they win the games they need to win.
Yeah, I agree. So on a little more fun standpoint, I'm a Bengals fan. I get to root for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. God damn, is that fun. You, this year, have gotten blessed with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Wow. How awesome is it watching your offense, knowing that no matter where you are on the field, you can score?
It's something that the Dolphins haven't had we've never had anything like this since I was born. Nothing. Not even close.
No Chris Chambers? Chris Chambers was lit?
I love Chris Chambers, bro. We can't compare Chris Chambers to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, you're right. Chris Chambers was a hell of a possession receiver, but he wasn't no Tyreek.
Bro, I love Chris Chambers. My family loves Chris Chambers. Like, again, I was born into a Dolphins family, right? So Chris Chambers, one of my favorite wide receivers of all time. But no one in Dolphins history, I don't care OJ McDuffie, I don't care who you refer to, no one was like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Like, absolutely no one. Like, Tyreek Hill is probably one of the best players, if not top 5 best Dolphins players in history, right? Is Tyreek Hill. If he's not towards the top. He's that talented. What he's doing, breaking Calvin Johnson's record for yards, even though the touchdowns aren't there, it doesn't matter. Like, if it doesn't matter, touchdowns aren't there, I'm glad he scored. Hopefully we get to have him score, but what's been happening is that Jalen Waddle's been scoring all the touchdowns because the defense is so focused on Tyreek Hill. It helps open up Jalen Waddle. He's the one scoring, but Tyreek Hill's getting all the yards, so it doesn't matter, right? It's just, again, we pray for health, pray they both stay healthy, but yeah, it's so fun to watch. I haven't been this excited to be a Dolphins fan in a very long time.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, too, where the Dolphins did to us such a service by bringing – because – obviously, drafting Waddle is huge because he's incredibly talented, but also bringing in Tyreek Hill, seeing young quarterbacks get weapons that can help them develop and prove that they are the guy is huge, huge for a young quarterback. You see Justin Fields getting Chase Claypool, and hopefully that helps. Zach Wilson getting Garrett Wilson kind of is going to, I think, prove that Zach Wilson's not the guy because they even brought in Garrett Wilson, can't get it done, but it's one of those things where it has to make you feel so much better about Tua, because before it was Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert from that draft class, and everybody was like, Tua. Like, now I think it's a very legitimate conversation that we could have a quarterback class between those three where they are all great.
And there was never a conversation before.
Very good for a long time.
It was never a conversation before. It was only Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua was the redheaded stepchild. Sorry for lack of a better term. That's what he was. Like, he was nowhere near the conversation. Now you have to bring him in the conversation. Like, hey guys, I'm here. And again, his stats are better than the other guys. Right? Now, Justin Herbert, I know he's been hurt with the injury, but he has not had a good season. For Justin Herbert standards, he's not been good. He has not been good.
Yeah, I agree. It sucks for Justin Herbert because I want to see him at his best with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but we just haven't gotten that yet. But all right, last Dolphins question before we move on to some awards talk. But I got to know how far right now are the Dolphins going? If you had to say, hey, I'm Troy King and I think the Dolphins will win blank.
I think we go to. I think we win. Absolutely win a playoff game. I think they end up being, if I'm being completely honest, I think we end up being a wild card team. I think the Jets defense is lethal. I still have questions about their offense. I just don't
have faith in Zach Wilson.
I don't have it either. I just don't. I know they're 6-3, but I feel like if they're going to win, their defense is just elite. So I feel like maybe that could get them there. But I feel that if I was being honest, I think the Bills win the division still. But I feel like the Dolphins are the wild card. They are a wild card team. So that's the way I see it playing out. I think the Dolphins win at least one playoff game, which we haven't done since 2000. But that would be a big deal. We've made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
2017 and 2008, but they haven't won a playoff game in 22 years or something like that. So, yeah, so I think they win a playoff game. I think they end up in the title game, but I don't know if we're going to win the title game. That's my bold prediction. I'm not going to say Super Bowl yet. I'm not going to do it. I wish I could, but I'm not saying Super Bowl just yet.
Look, if I had told you that at the beginning of the year, where if you'd been like, hey, the Dolphins are probably going to win a playoff game and possibly make the AFC Championship game, would you have been like, yeah, sign me up?
Oh, I would love to, because I feel like, again, just winning one playoff game is, again, Mike McDaniels, now he's the king of the world. Tua's the king of Miami. Yeah. Tyreek Hill's a god. Like, I feel like everyone, they love Tua, but they're loving Tyreek Hill. They're loving Mike McDaniel. Jalen Waddle, they've been like, so yeah, it's fun times in Miami. It hasn't been fun times in a long time. So,
hell yeah, man! I as a Bengals fan who saw happiness last year for the first time in a long time.
Oh yeah, I'm glad. You have the laughing stock of the league, bro, and then now you're in the Super Bowl. No one expected that.
Hey, it has made my football watching a lot more enjoyable. But let's talk some midseason awards, and we're gonna lead off with the big one because this is the one that everybody cares about. MVP. If the season ended after 9 weeks and you had to pick your NFL MVP, who is Troy King's MVP of the season?
It's Jalen Hurts. I feel like just Jalen Hurts, how much he's improved. You've been leading an undefeated team. To me, I feel like it's easy. And I feel like right now, after Josh Allen was in the conversation, I know he's still in it, but after that loss to the Jets, and the fact that he lost to Miami, I'm sorry, you can't give him the MVP. It has to be Jalen Hurts. And I think Patrick Mahomes is right there. The fact that you lost Tyreek Hill, you're still doing everything that you're doing. I think it's huge, but I think it's Jalen Hurts to lose.
Yeah, those would be my top two. And obviously Josh Allen, it sucks because like he was hurt, but like the first 9 games of the season have been great for him. I also think people are sleeping on Lamar a little bit. I know
he's in the conversation. He's in the conversation, but he's lost some. He lost some games that he shouldn't have lost. I don't know if he's gonna win. And Tua should be in that conversation too, because in the games he started and finished, he's undefeated this year. And obviously,
and that's gonna be one of those. That's gonna be one of those things where, like, when we're looking back at the end of the season, like you could have an argument for Tua, but it's like, oh, but he only played in 12 games, or you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Those 2 games the games he missed, those are brutal. The games that he missed. So.
Yeah, well, you want to talk about showing value when he's not there? That Dolphins
terrible.
Offense.
The Jets putting 40 on us says everything you need to know. Yeah. But then the Vikings game was close. It should have been. The fact that it was that close, I think it says a lot, right? The game was close with the backups. And if Tua was there, I think it would have been a W easy. I think it would have been an easy W with Tua, but yeah.
All right, so let's go the other way then. Offensive Player of the Year is an award that typically doesn't go to a quarterback. Who would you give your Offensive Player of the Year award to?
Tyreek Hill. I feel like it shouldn't be anyone else but Tyreek Hill. Again, he's on pace to break that record. Easily Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, this is one I agree with 100%, and I really don't know, like, maybe Justin Jefferson would be second, or A.J. Brown, because A.J. Brown's had a phenomenal start to the year, but I don't think you could give MVP and Offensive Player to the same team. So that's a tough one. But, yeah, Tyreek Hill's just been so good. Obviously, we're fantasy guys, but we got to go to the other side of the ball. Defensive Player of the Year, in my mind, it's Micah Parsons. Yeah, I think Micah Parsons has been okay.
Micah Parsons, that's an easy one.
Such a force. He is a force, and it's one like that. The Cowboys defense, I think they're still the number one. They're number 2 fantasy defense after the Patriots.
Patriots are, and that's the reason why they're 5-4, because their offense is not good, but their defense is elite, and their defense is elite. So yeah, that's the reason why they're doing what they're doing.
Dude, maybe this is incredibly biased of me from like my love of Bailey Zappi from college football Bailey Zappi, because college football Bailey Zappi was so fun at Western Kentucky. But I kind of want to see him get a legitimate shot.
I mean, he had the games. I mean, I feel like he had the shot. I think the problem is that he didn't do enough with his shot against the Bears. Like, because if he balled out, the job would be his. The job would be his, fair. But he struggled. And I think, again, Bill Belichick pretty much was begging Bailey Zappi to take over to take this job. He was put in there. If he just looked electric, it would be his job. But he didn't do what he needed to do, so it goes back to Mac.
That is a fair enough statement. Offensive Rookie of the Year is a tough one, because I absolutely would have given it to Breece Hall.
Yeah, me too.
And then Breece Hall got hurt. Who would you give your offensive Rookie of the Year to?
I'm struggling with this one, man. I'll be honest with you. I don't feel like there's that many great options. I guess maybe Chris Olave. It's just, I don't really feel. Oh, sorry, I'm forgetting. Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker should take it.
Yeah,
Kenneth Walker.
I think by the
Damian
end of the year,
Damian Pierce too. I
see. If I had to give this award based off of strictly the first 9 weeks, I think I would give it to Damian Pierce.
Yeah.
But who do I think is going to win it long term? I think it's either going to be Kenneth Walker or Chris Olave. And I think it's probably going to end up being Kenneth Walker, because you're going to see if he propels that Seahawks team to a either division title or even a playoff berth. I think it's going to be one of those. It's like best rookie on the best team.
Yeah, I think so
deal,
too. Because the Houston Texans are so bad, they're the worst team in the league. So I feel like it's hard to give it to Damian Pierce. So I'm gonna go with Kenneth Walker.
Yeah. All right. Coach of the Year, I think, is a really interesting conversation, because there are some coaches who've obviously done incredibly, incredibly well. And then there are some coaches who have taken teams who weren't supposed to be where they are and have vaulted them to where they currently are. Who's your coach of the year?
Well, I don't know. This thing is probably one of the hardest ones, because I think Nick Sirianni, Kevin O'Connell, Mike McDaniel, who else? Oh, Brian Dable. Those are the ones that like stand out to me the most. If I had to pick one, I would like to say Mike McDaniel. I don't know if I can. I feel like he completely turned the Dolphins around, and the fact that Tua's completely changed the narrative, I would like to say that. I think maybe...
I don't hate that take.
Brian Daboll, man. I feel like we expected the Giants. Pete Carroll should be in this conversation,
Bro,
too.
That's who I was going to bring up. I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah.
It's like Pete Carroll's... The Seahawks were supposed to stay. I think their win total was like 4.5 games.
Giants were supposed
They've already
to
crossed that for the year.
Yeah.
And the Giants were supposed to stink. Like it... Yeah, it's crazy that we have, I think, between the Jets, the Giants, and the Seahawks, we have 3 teams that were supposed to be the bottom of the league, and are now fighting for playoff spots, and that's pretty damn
But
cool,
Nick Sirianni has the only undefeated team, so I feel like that's also part of the reason. It's like, I don't know. This one's going to be extremely difficult, but maybe I'll give it to Nick Sirianni just by default, because he's the only undefeated team. But the other ones, everyone deserves consideration for that one.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This will be one of the closest Coach of the Year races I think we've seen in a while. But let's talk the future here. We're exactly halfway through the season, and I'm going to sit here, I'm going to clip this, and then we're going to go back and we're going to watch it, in January, and it'll be like, damn, we were so correct. We were just the most correct.
I bet we will be.
Who is your AFC champion who's going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl?
The Buffalo Bills. Oh. I don't want to. I would love to say Miami Dolphins. I'm trying not to be a homer. If that happens, I'm going to find a way to go to that Super Bowl. If they happen to be, I'm definitely going to find a way. But
bro, football guys, get your boy there. Like, what are we doing?
No, listen, I'm going to that Super Bowl with it. But if I was a better man, I would say the Buffalo Bills. I think they're just the best team in the AFC.
All right. So we got the Bills in the AFC. Who do you have coming out of the NFC?
The Eagles. I mean, I know it's very chalk, my answers for both, but I just feel that they are the best team. I think they're better than the Vikings. Say what you want about the Cowboys. They have a good defense. The offense is has some questions. I just don't think there's anyone in the AFC. The 49ers could put it together. They have the defense and the offensive weapons with Christian McCaffrey. If Jimmy G just doesn't do the stupid, because I feel like Jimmy G is, I feel like he's a pretty decent quarterback. The problem with Jimmy G is that he does the worst thing at the worst time, and that's how they lose games. That's what
it's an opportune.
Yeah, it's the worst time because I feel like he's not like a super sucky quarterback. Like people like to say it, but I'm like, I watch him like, no, he's not awful. It's just that he makes the worst mistakes at the worst time. So if that's what's considered sucky, then okay. But I feel like majority of the game, I think he's fine. But then he just fucks up. Sorry for my language, but at the worst time.
Hey, it is what it is. We've kind of seen that from that 49ers team over the years. So. I'm going to take a little different approach. From the NFC, I am going to take the Vikings. I just think we're going to...
Okay.
I would absolutely love to see a Vikings-Eagles matchup in the NFC Championship. I think that would be a lot of fun. You get A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson. You get Jalen Hurts. That running game, what they're able to do has been really incredible. But I'm going to take the Vikings. I just think this is the Kirk Cousins era we are in. I love... It reminds me of that Eagles locker room from when the Eagles went and won that Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I just love the vibes from the AFC side. I cannot figure this out because I think the Bills have. I don't know. I just think there's an aura over the Bills. Maybe this is the year they get it done. But I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Chiefs.
It's never bad going with the Chiefs, but their run game. I mean, you don't need a run game with Patrick Mahomes, but man, their run game is not great.
No. All right, so your matchup is Eagles-Bills. Who you got winning it?
I got Bills. I think the Bills are the best team in the league. I think they're the best team.
Okay, now talking between those two teams, which team, if they won, would get the most drunk? Would it be Philly or would it be Buffalo?
Ooh, that's tough, man. I feel like those are I feel like in terms of the drunkenness, both of the cities. Man, I know. I'm very familiar with Philly. I think no one's crazier than Philly fans. I feel like Philly.
That's the damn truth.
I think Philly fans will get more drunk. There's no one crazier than them. I'm going Philly.
That's fair. I don't know a ton of. Actually, I do know a couple Eagles fans, but. Obviously Victoria is a Bills fan, so it would be cool to see her celebrate a little bit. But
that'd be wild.
That December 18th game between Miami and Buffalo
that could determine a division. The way the season's going to go, it's probably going to determine the division, and it's just like. But the thing about it is but we obviously have one. The Dolphins already have one win, so I feel like it's less pressure on them. So the Bills have to win that game. So, because
it'll be close.
But who would have the tiebreak? Because I don't know what the record would be, but it depends on what the record is too. Because that'd be a wash. So we'd have to think. I don't know how that ties in, but yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. Troy, is there anything you're working on right now that the people need to check out? Obviously, you have your YouTube shows. You were on with LQ last night.
Yeah,
I was dropping it into the comments section there, but where can the people find you?
Sure. So you guys can find me at T King Mode, pretty much on all social media platforms, but Twitter's my home base, so make sure to check me out there. But I'm at Destination Davy mainly, so on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, me and Laquan Jones, we have a show called TL Fantasy Football. We usually talk waivers, start sits, we do a quick Monday night recap, and then we just do a question and answer because a lot of people have questions for the week. And then Wednesdays, I do a mailbag show with football guys with Dave Kluge and Victoria Geary. That's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Thursdays during halftime, just 10 minutes over at Destination Devi YouTube page. Me, Laquan Jones, and Samantha Holt. We do a 10-minute first half recap, and we do a second half preview. Just 10 minutes is a quick, fun show. But yeah, those are the main things I'm working on.
Absolutely. Go check that out. And they will all be linked in the description of the video and the description of the podcast. So make sure you go check out Troy's stuff. He is one of my favorite people in this industry and a good friend. Thank you all for listening to this episode, and we will see you in the next one.